Hello beautiful people, welcome to the channel. Reverend Debbie here, hope you're doing well. Today's video is all about toxic masculinity. Before I get into the video though, I just want to say thank you to whomever my 500th subscriber was. I've reached a milestone, finally. I remember when I first got up to 100 subscribers, I was like, yay. I am a very, very small channel, really tiny in comparison to some of the bigger channels that talk about this kind of thing. It's only recently that I've come to this subject, but I would really appreciate your subscription and liking the video. I'm not monetized. I don't make money from this. This is what I do in my spare time. So toxic masculinity. Now I've been having some really interesting discussions with men around this issue, and it's not only men that have this issue, women do too. We are often subjected to the toxicity of men, and I want to stress here, not all men. We know that not all men are toxic. We do. We do. I have got many, many female friends who are married to the most wonderful men. I've also got many female friends who were in very abusive, toxic relationships with their partner, and their partner was the toxic person. But I think a lot of this toxicity has come from social media and influencers such as Andrew Tate, who is having not just a detrimental effect on women, but on boys and young men as well. So I'd love your comments, but please, when you are commenting, please try and refrain from using profanity. Please try and keep the comments respectful, no insults. And often when I'm talking to people or just, having a discourse with somebody on the comment section, I will ask you a question, because sometimes I need you to clarify what it is you mean and what you're referring to. So I'm not being rude. I'm just asking you to clarify this so I can have a response that makes sense. Also, there are a lot of young viewers on this channel that are under 16, and boys and girls, and I would really appreciate it if you could be respectful in the comments, because otherwise we're showing our youth that actually we're no better than them, or they will grow up to be just like us. So women have suffered at the hands of men for thousands of years. We have fought for our right to vote, to have our own bank accounts, to buy our own homes, to have our own credit card. We have fought for that. A lot of things were withheld from women, and it was only the wealthy and most elite women that were allowed to go to universities back in the 19th century, or 20th century rather. I think it was the late 19th and through the 20th century. Prior to that, universities were male dominated. Women were not allowed to study. Women were not allowed to be doctors. And this all is evident when we look at the burning times in witchcraft from the 1600s, when women were hanged, burned, or drowned for being witches, or what was classed as witches. But that's a topic for a different day, because that's a whole different can of worms. Now, we still don't have the right as women to be treated as equal as men. And we don't want to be better than men. We don't want to push men down. We want to be equal with men, because we are autonomous human beings. Many men view the rise of women as bad for the world. But I'd like to see in what way it is bad for the world, because at the moment, men rule the world and the world's pretty bad. Men saying to me, oh, and remember, it's not all men. So please, I'm not talking about all men. I'm talking about some men. And that we wouldn't have roads, we wouldn't have buildings, we wouldn't have this, that, and the next thing. How do you know that? How do you know that a woman would not have stood up and done that herself? Do you have a crystal ball that you can tell the future with, or look at the past with? I do. I do. But all I'm saying is, you don't know what would have happened if women ruled the world, because it's never happened. So making these assumptions that, oh, well, women wouldn't have had this and women wouldn't have had that. Why do you say that? What do you have? What proof, what evidence do you have to say that? So as I say, how do they know this? And you know, I get these comments that I can see the person furiously typing, angry, and the comments are all in caps, and I'm thinking, why are you so angry at me? I'm not the person that you need to be angry with. Governments are who you need to be angry with. The people that you vote into power are the ones that rule the world, not women. Then somebody did mention to me about women being more of the softer side of work and jobs and doing the most shopping. Now that is true. Women do those jobs and do the shopping. Today's society is a consumer society. And who buys more of the products that we use? Women. We buy the food, we buy baby products, we buy clothing, we buy this, we buy that, we buy the next thing. Men generally buy high-end items, cars, laptops, electronic equipment, and so on. Very few men do the weekly shop. And again, I'm not saying all men, because I go to the supermarket and I see men doing the shopping. So I know that. So this consumer society that we're in at the moment, where women spend the most of their money on buying, is the way that the world has gone after the Industrial Revolution. But how have women eroded governments? We haven't. There is still a massive male majority in all governments around the world. There have been very few female presidents or prime ministers. So we need to understand that in that case, women are being pushed out of that job. We're also told that we're libtards and wokies. Now, I'm a liberal person, but I'm also a socialist, so I'm far left when it comes to politics. But being woke, isn't that just being nice about things? Being nice to people, being nice to those people that you walk past in the street, helping other people? Why is being woke bad? This term came from America, and it's now in the UK. I don't know if it's used in the rest of the world, but it's like saying, oh, you're woke. Yeah, and just because I'm a good person doesn't mean that I'm woke. It means that I'm a good person. Now, women are not often able to do the same jobs as men. I worked in the corporate environment in a few different businesses, and the managers and owners of those companies were men, and they didn't employ as many women as they did men in the higher paid roles. Women were more than capable of doing those roles. I was an IT support manager. I know nothing about IT, but I was a good manager. But women find it I had to work at that company for nearly 10 years before I got that role. So bear in mind that these dynamics are still in place. If a woman and a man are going for the same job and it's a high-end job, the man will get the job, not the woman. And there are many reasons for that. I'm not going to go into them in this video because it would just be so long. But also when we look around the world, you know, when I was at school, I did most of my schooling in South Africa, and girls were not allowed to do metalwork, woodwork and so on, and boys were not allowed to do sewing and cookery. I hated sewing. I wanted to do the metalwork and the woodwork and go and work on a car. I wanted that, but I was not allowed. Now I know here in the UK, when I did my first term at comprehensive, and we could do woodwork, metalwork. In fact, I think we had 6-week slots at each thing. So that was way more equal in that level. So we can look at that and say, right, this is when women started to come into the work environment in those jobs. However, men are still chosen over a woman for those jobs. Women are often forced into being carers for their elderly parents and obviously being mothers. Now, men do get paternity leave, which is great. So is that a toxic trait? Is that something that men want to do or don't want to do? That sort of is a conundrum. It goes against what men are saying, that, oh, women won't allow them to do things, and yet men have petitioned for paternity, and they've got that paternity right now. And I agree with, it should be there. A balanced relationship between men and women is needed. We're not saying that women should, be gladiators and fight against men. We're not. We know that men are physically stronger. Most men are physically stronger than women. But each gender brings their own skills. So there's somebody shouting outside. Brings their own skills to the table. And there doesn't need to be an argument over who's best at what. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to the point that women are still not treated equally with men. And I want to stress that women were seen as house slaves up until the 70s, when women actually started moving into the workforce en masse. And that was because a single salary was not enough, not sufficient to support a family. So blame your governments. Blame the governments. They're the ones that control the economy and the rules and the laws. It's not women. We protest against that. As I say, we don't want to erode your rights. We just want you to be less misogynist. That's all. And I agree. I completely agree that there are some women out there who can be nasty to men and be misandrist. I've been called it myself. Maybe I have those traits. I don't know. If I do, that's something that I can work on. And that's the thing. I'm owning up to those traits. But often men don't. Often men will try to, I'm not like that. But looking deeper within themselves may allow them to open up and see that perhaps they are like that. Perhaps they do those things. Many men have realised that after a divorce, and this is sort of middle-age group now, so it's like my era, the Gen X era, many women of this age are realising we don't really need men, because we had a relationship with a man and we had our children, but then that man was abusive and nasty towards us. So do we want to go back to that? No, we're happy on our own. Now, I'm not saying all women are, because obviously some women want to be in a relationship. There's nothing wrong with being in a relationship if the two parties are equal. It's not one person pushing down another and saying, you will do the dishes, you will do the laundry, you will look after the kids, da-da-da. It's, okay, my love, what would you like to do? Do you want to have a career? Yes. Then we will do housework together. Some men go on to be house husbands. I've known them. And they're quite happy to be house husbands, and the woman goes out to work. Does that man feel any less of a man because of that? Well, this man that I'm talking about certainly didn't. But some men will see that as a bad thing. But is it really? Is it really a bad thing? So as I say, when women are with men in a relationship and they've got kids and the man gets flu, the whole family gets flu normally. That's what happens, isn't it? Snotty noses, everybody gets sick. But the woman is the one who gets up and looks after the kids, while generally, and not all men, lay in bed with man flu and, oh, I'm dying. The woman's got the same thing, but she gets up and goes about her business, because that's what women do. Just bear that in mind. Women have been known to lift cars off of their children who are being crushed, because we have that instinct to do those things. Then, something that is relatively new to me is men want untouched women. They want, women who have not had intercourse. And yet, they want to have intercourse with other women, but they don't want to marry them. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can have one or the other. But, why can't women have intercourse with men in their life like men do with women before marriage? Why can't you? The church told you can't. Now, I'm pagan. I'm a pagan minister. So it's all different for us. We don't have a Bible that says you can't sleep with a man before you're married. We have tenets that say if you want to, you do that, as long as you do it with, consent from both parties. Young men may well be disenfranchised, and I completely understand that. There are no decent role models out there, and I want to say thank you to Van Man, if you're watching this, for actually raising that concern, because it was a thing that I'd not thought of. So I'm really glad that you did raise that, because there are no decent role models anymore. Look at governments. You just have to look at the Orange Oompa Loompa and how despicable he is. People like Andrew Tate, Fresh and Fit, and all those other sort of people that are in charge. Do we really want that? We as women don't have to put up with that anymore. We're like, no, I don't want to be treated like that. I don't want to be subservient. I want to live my life how I want to live it. Men oppressed women much the same way as they oppress, and still do, people of colour and people with disabilities and that are different to them. Look at the attacks on trans women. I stand up for trans women. I know a lot of trans women and I love them. So what? How does that affect you as a man? Now, I know there are some people out there who watch my channel and are very much against trans women, and that's a different side of feminism now, but I believe that feminism is about equality for everybody, not just for women. Women don't want to put up with mistresses anymore. Often men have mistresses. I'm not saying that women don't, but I would say the vast majority of those who do have affairs are possibly men who have affairs with younger women. Also, the advent of internet porn and how that is free and has affected a lot of men. So a lot of men, not all men, think that women can take it up the jacksie or do these things that they've seen on porn videos. Well, no, that's not how a woman should be treated. Yes, if a woman wants to do that, that's fine. That's her choice. I have no problem with that. But if she's being coerced into doing things like that, that's wrong. That's very, very wrong. And I know my ex-partner wanted to do certain things and I was very flat out no. He still tried. For 12 years of my life, he still tried. Wouldn't take no for an answer. Now, men have male privilege, which is something that women don't have. It's something that's ingrained in society. So men have male privilege of being, for example, Formula One drivers because they're seen as better drivers. However, women are the ones that have fewer crashes. Women tend not to speed as much. We can look at that on a sort of level, but women aren't allowed in Formula One. There was one woman, I think, that was in Formula One. And I know in South Africa there was a woman that was, I think she was in the one of the rally car type races, and she was really good and did beat a few men. But sports like that, sports like horse racing are seen as masculine. Football is seen as masculine. Now, look back at the Euro Cup last year. The England team didn't win, but the England female Lions team won, but oh no, they're just girls. They don't count. Do you see this ingrained misogyny and how it works? We should have been proud that our women went out there and played football. And I can tell you now, most of those women are probably better than a lot of players that are in the lower divisions of the football here. So they didn't get there through, not doing hard work. Two of my cousin's daughters were actually footballers. They're not now, but they actually played football. That's what they were into. Why can't they? What is so wrong with that? Some men have said the Me Too movement has been the downfall of men. But I say the downfall of men happened thousands of years ago when men became greedy and wanted land and money and so on and so on and so on. They went to conquer various lands and countries. And when men arrived in these countries, sorry, it's the door on my desk, in these countries, they then tended to grape the women. But we are told that women are the reason that wars exist, but we're not. We don't cause wars. We don't pick a fight. We stand up for our rights, but we don't pick a fight. A man will never know the agony of having a menstruation or giving birth to a child or having the physiological connection that a mother has with the child. The woman has grown that baby for 9 months and she has a relationship with that child, but a man will never have the same level of relationship. Now, one thing that I'd like to tell you all is that after a woman has had a baby and you're with her, let's say you're married or in a partnership, your testosterone level will drop and it will never go back up. Just saying. That's a biological fact. Women will never really know what it's like to be safe. I won't go running in the evening. I'm not going out in the evening on my own in the dark. I struggle to go out to clubs and bars on my own at night. I feel that I may not survive, that there are things that could happen to me. So we put all of these protections in place for ourselves as women, but we shouldn't have to do that. Wouldn't it be great if men could be curfewed at 6 p.m. for a month? All men curfewed at 6 p.m. and women could go out without fear of perhaps being raped or their drinks spiked or worse, being unalived by men. So this is a reason we choose the bear. Because as much as you want to tell us that we'll be eaten by the bear, that's okay, because we know that. We know that with the bear, we're either going to be able to get away or be eaten. With the man, you may get raped and unalived. So I hope this has made sense. And if anybody has any comments, please put them below. As I said before, please make sure that they are respectful. Try and avoid profanity. And remember that there are younger teenage boys that do come on and comment on my videos. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please click the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Hope to see you next time. Blessed be.